World events in 1811. America. New Madrid Earthquake. A series of powerful earthquakes centered near New Madrid, Missouri, struck the Mississippi Valley. Battle of Tippecanoe. William Henry Harrison's forces defeated Tecumseh's Native American alliance in the Indiana Territory. Slave Revolt. A large-scale slave revolt, led by Charles Dessalines, took place in the German coast region of Louisiana. First Bank of the United States. The charter of the First Bank of the United States expired, marking a significant shift in the nation's financial landscape. The Commissioner's Plan for Manhattan was presented. The Commissioner's Plan for Manhattan, officially adopted in 1811, presented a grid plan for the development of the city. This plan, created by a commission appointed by the New York State Legislature, laid out the rectangular street grid that defines much of Manhattan today, including the streets, roads, and public squares. John Stevens' first steam-powered ferry, the Juliana, began operating between Hoboken, New Jersey, and New York City on October 11, 1811. Britain. Luddite Uprisings. Beginning in November, workers, known as Luddites, protested against the use of machinery in the textile industry, particularly in the north of England and the Midlands. They targeted weaving and knitting machines, fearing job losses due to automation. Regency Era. In February, King George III was declared unfit to rule due to mental illness, and the Prince of Wales, later George IV, was appointed Prince Regent, marking the start of the Regency Era. Huddersfield Narrow Canal. The Standedge Tunnel, the longest, deepest, and highest canal tunnel in Britain at the time, was completed. National Society for Promoting the Education of the Poor. Established by the Church of England, this organization aimed to promote a system of national schools to educate the poor. Carlton House Fête. A lavish and expensive celebration was held at Carlton House in London to commemorate the start of the Regency. First landing on Rockall. A party from HMS Endymion made the first known landing on the remote island of Rockall. Wool shipment from Australia. The first commercial shipment of wool from New South Wales to England was sent by Reverend Samuel Marsden. Volcanic Eruption. Sabrina Island, an ephemeral islet, was formed by a submarine volcanic eruption off the coast of São Miguel Island in the Azores in 1811. Welsh Calvinistic Methodists. Separated from the Church of England by ordaining their own ministers. France. Peninsular War. The war in Spain and Portugal continued, with battles such as the Battle of Gebra. French victory, the Battle of Barossa, French tactical defeat, the Battle of Sabugal. Anglo-Portuguese victory, and the Siege of Almeida, French garrison. The Anglo-Portuguese forces also achieved victories at Fuentes de Honoro and Arroyo dos Molinos. Poor harvests in France led to the creation of a subsistence council to address potential food shortages. Napoleon also faced issues with the Papal States, as Pope Pius VII refused to invest bishops appointed by the French. Imperial expansion. Napoleon's focus on expanding the French Empire continued, with the annexation of Holland and the establishment of the Imperial Order of Reunion in Amsterdam. Birth of Napoleon's son. Marie-Louise, Napoleon's wife, gave birth to a son, the future King of Rome, on March 20th. Turkey. Wahhabi War, Ottoman-Saudi War. This war, which began in early 1811 and lasted until 1818, was fought between the Ottoman Empire, including its Egyptian vassal state, and the First Saudi State. The conflict ultimately resulted in the destruction of the First Saudi State. Egypt. On March 1, 1811, Muhammad Ali orchestrated the massacre of hundreds of Mamluk leaders and their followers in Cairo. This event, also known as the Massacre of the Citadel, aimed to eliminate the Mamluk threat to his rule. Estimates vary, but it's believed that a large number of Mamluks were killed, effectively ending their power in Egypt. Saudi Arabia. The Battle of Kikikara. A naval battle in which Bahraini and Kuwaiti forces allied against a Saudi-led force, resulting in a Bahraini victory. The Ottoman Campaign. The Ottoman Sultan ordered Muhammad Ali Pasha to lead the military effort against the Saudis. Africa. The Ga-Fanti War. This conflict in present-day Ghana pitted the Ga and Fanti peoples against each other, with the Ashanti Empire also involved. The war stemmed from an Ashanti ally's aggression towards the Fanti. Initially, the Ashanti gained ground, but the Fanti, with British support, adopted new tactics and ultimately reached a stalemate. The war highlights the complex political landscape and power dynamics in West Africa at the time. The 1811 German Coast Uprising. This revolt involved over 200 enslaved people in the territory of Orleans, present-day Louisiana, who marched on New Orleans to demand freedom. Led by Charles Dessalines, the revolt was inspired by the Haitian Revolution. The rebels, mostly armed with makeshift weapons, burned plantations and sugar houses as they marched. The uprising was brutally suppressed by a militia and U.S. troops, with many rebels killed or executed. The heads of some executed rebels were displayed on spikes to intimidate others. India. In 1811, a significant event in India involved the British East India Company's invasion of Java, then under Franco-Dutch control, to curb Napoleon's expansionist plans in the Indian Ocean. This expedition, led by Lord Minto, included a large force of Indian sepoys, primarily from Bengal. The invasion resulted in the British taking control of Java, with Stamford Raffles appointed as lieutenant governor. China. Qing dynasty decline. The Qing dynasty, established by the Manchus, was facing internal issues that would eventually lead to its downfall. The dynasty, which had experienced a period of strength and prosperity in the 18th century, began to show signs of weakness in the early 19th century. Internal unrest. The Qing dynasty was dealing with various forms of internal conflict, including rebellions and uprisings. These internal struggles weakened the dynasty's authority and control over its vast territory. Japan. In 1811, Japan was in the Edo period, and a notable event was the capture and imprisonment of Russian Captain Vasily Golovnin by Japanese authorities. This incident, which lasted from 1811 to 1813, sparked considerable interest in Japan throughout Europe and the United States. Vasily Golovnin, a Russian naval officer, was exploring the Kuril Islands when he and his crew were captured by the Japanese in 1811. Korea. In 1811, during the Joseon dynasty, a significant event in Korean history was Hong Jeong-rae's rebellion. This was a large-scale peasant rebellion in the northwestern part of the country. The rebellion was fueled by widespread discontent among the populace in Pyongan province due to famine caused by poor harvests, discriminatory government policies, high taxes, and oppressive forced labor. Hong Jeong-rae, a fallen Yamban noble, spearheaded the uprising, which had been planned for 10 years. The rebellion was unusually large, involving people from various social classes. The rebels quickly seized control of several towns and much of the Guangzhou region. Government forces eventually suppressed the rebellion after a siege at Gyeongju Fortress, which was breached using gunpowder. Hong Jeong-rae was killed, and many rebels and civilians were executed, including boys as young as 10 years old. Australia. Governor Macquarie's visit to Van Diemen's Land. During his tour, Governor Macquarie directed the development of Hobart, including the establishment of a central square and 7 streets named Macquarie, Liverpool, Argyle, Elizabeth, Murray, Harrington, and Collins. First commercial wool shipment. Reverend Samuel Marsden sent the first significant shipment of wool from New South Wales to England. This event marked a crucial step in the development of Australia's wool industry. John Oxley's appointment. John Oxley was appointed as the Surveyor General of New South Wales on February 1st. This appointment was significant for mapping and surveying the colony. Canada. Establishment of a Pacific Fur Company post. John Jacob Astor's Pacific Fur Company established a trading post at the mouth of the Columbia River, a strategic location for accessing the fur trade in the Pacific Northwest. Charting of the Columbia River. David Thompson, a British-Canadian fur trader, surveyor, and cartographer, completed the charting of the entire length of the Columbia River, contributing significantly to geographical knowledge of the region. Exploration of the Snake River Valley. William Price Hunt led Astor's overland party, exploring the Snake River Valley and the area that would become part of the Oregon Trail. Germany. Oktoberfest's first agricultural show. The annual Oktoberfest in Munich added an agricultural show to its festivities, demonstrating a focus on Bavarian agriculture. Heinrich von Kleist's suicide. The prominent German writer Heinrich von Kleist tragically ended his life on November 21, 1811, along with his lover, Henriette Vogel. Establishment of Royal Saxon Academy of Forestry. This event in Theren marked a significant development in forestry education and research in Germany. 1811 also saw the birth of notable figures like the chemist Robert Bunsen and the death of influential figures like writer Christoph Friedrich Nicolai. Mexico. January 17, 1811, Battle of Calderon Bridge. A major defeat for the Mexican insurgents led by Miguel Hidalgo against the Spanish royalist forces. February-March 1811. After the defeat at Calderon Bridge, Hidalgo and his followers fled north, eventually being captured at the Wells of Bajan. March 21, 1811. Hidalgo, Allende, Aldama, and Jimenez were betrayed and captured by royalist forces led by Ignacio Elizondo at the Wells of Bajan. June 26, 1811. Allende, Jimenez, and Aldama were executed by firing squad, with their bodies dishonored by being shot in the back. July 30, 1811. Miguel Hidalgo was executed by firing squad after being defrocked and excommunicated by the church. After Hidalgo's death, José María Morelos assumed leadership of the insurgency, achieving notable successes like the occupation of Oaxaca and Acapulco. Brazil. A Portuguese army crossed the Rio Grande do São Pedro and joined Spanish royalist forces in Montevideo, marking the beginning of Portuguese intervention in the region. This intervention was a response to the revolution in Buenos Aires and was part of a larger conflict involving Spanish royalists and revolutionaries in the Rio de la Plata region. Paraguay. On May 14, 1811, Paraguay declared its independence from Spain, marking a crucial step in the region's struggle for self-governance. Battle of Las Piedras. Uruguayan revolutionaries, led by José Gervasio Artigas, achieved a victory against the Spanish at Las Piedras, which was significant for the survival of the revolution in the region. We hope you have enjoyed watching the video. Thank you.